Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I want to say what's up to everybody. What's up to everybody also on Instagram. My Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins. And today I wanted to talk about something that I was reading. Today my wife was watching this old video from Video Soul with this guy by the name of Roger Troutman, who he was the first guy to kind of do what T-Pain does, that whole computer love, talking about that whole electronic voice kind of thing. Well, anyway, I was watching this video and he was talking about his musical interests and how he kind of came up with the sounds that he came up with and stuff like that. And my wife was she casually mentioned, she said, he was killed by his brother. And I said, his brother, really? Like, what happened? So I read up on this story, and it was really fascinating. I looked up Roger Troutman, and give me a yes if you know who he is. Let me know if you've heard of Roger and Computer Love and all that stuff, and all the songs that they came out with. But anyway, so I read up on the story, and I was like, well, how did a man end up being shot by his brother? Because I know Marvin Gaye was also killed by his father. And so what I found was that it was over money. It was a dispute over money. And basically, the way the reports were that I read, and this happened about 1999. I said earlier that it was 1988. I got it wrong. I apologize. It's actually 1999, if I'm not mistaken, where this incident took place. And apparently, his brother Larry had borrowed money from him, and he wanted his money back. And then Larry ended up shooting Roger, and then Larry ended up shooting himself, right? So that's the whole interesting, like, sort of in terms of what happened kind of thing. Now, here's the thing I wanted you to kind of process for a minute. This is the kind of thing that I've talked about a lot in terms of money and relationships. You guys have heard me consistently talk about money. I can tell you all about money and wealth and 401ks and investing strategies and real estate and all that. I know all those things, right? Because that's what I do. But one of the things I picked up on was financial psychology. And financial psychology is kind of that side of money that people don't talk about. People don't talk about how money affects family. And then somebody even mentioned, again, I haven't confirmed this, but somebody even mentioned the word drugs, which I don't know if drugs were involved. I have not confirmed that. But if you throw in drugs and money and family and ego and things like that, that's a recipe for disaster. So one of the things I want you to kind of process here, as you sort of learn this story about how this brother died and the tragic way in which his own brother shot him, and also saying also that his brother had a drug problem. I need you to really think about this for a minute. This is my superpower. This is where I'm adding value to your life. This is where these financial conversations are going to go places other financial conversations will not go. This is why this platform exists. I need you to really look at money not as an individual entity, but look at money within the context of the sociology and the psychology of being Black, the family and the spirituality of being Black, just everything that's happened to the Black community. And then you drop money in the middle of it, and money can be like an explosive device that ends up blowing up a situation that's already very fragile. You're really talking about a community that's full of many, many traumatized people. I've talked to you guys consistently about how drugs are the worst thing to have ever happened to Black people. That I don't understand for 1 second why you let the music industry promote drugs to Black people. I don't know why anybody. I mean, when you talk about the death of Roger, who performed more so in the 80s, and how he was killed by his brother, and they're saying drugs were connected to this. There's 1,000 stories like this. In fact, give me a yes in the chat. Give me a yes in the chat. How many of you know somebody who has been addicted to drugs and ruined their family's life? How many of you know somebody who was killed over drugs? How many of you know somebody that was locked up over drugs? How many of you know somebody who was traumatized because somebody on drugs did something crazy in their life? Give me a yes in the chat if you've seen this up close. And the reason I ask this question is because I need you to understand that when the CIA came in and dropped crack cocaine into the Black community, they stole about $5 trillion worth of wealth from the Black community by doing that. They stole about $5 trillion worth of your wealth when they did that. The reason they stole $5 trillion of your wealth is because so much potential was killed when those drugs arrived on the block, when suddenly that person who could have gone on and become a multimillionaire or a billionaire is spending all their time trying to figure out why they're 7 years old and their mama is out in the street hunting for crack. They can't even be a good mama, or why they got to run away from their own damn sibling because their sibling's hooked on heroin and trying to steal everybody's money and kill people, right? Or why they got to go to school and dodge through certain gang neighborhoods to not get shot on their way to the 8th grade. All these things matter. These things matter. In order for a child to be wealthy and successful, he's got to reach his potential. In order for him to reach his potential, he has to not get killed. In order for him to reach his potential, he has to not get like insanely traumatized. In order for him to reach his potential, he has to be guided by two intelligent, healthy parents that can help him get to their destination. If one of the parents is in jail and the other one's dead, or the other one's hooked on crack, then that kid's potential is dead. It's dead. And so I bring up the example of Roger, the singer who was killed by his brother Larry in 1999, as one of about 10,000 examples I can point to where millions of dollars in potential black wealth was killed over something that related to drugs, something that related to the nonsense that surrounds money. Money, in my mind, money is like a powerful tornado. It can be. It's a powerful tornado in the sense that when you put the money in there, the power of money, it kind of swirls everything around it. Think about what a tornado does. When a tornado comes through the city, it just kind of takes everything that's there, the trucks, cars, bricks, and everything just swirling around. And next thing you know, you're getting hit in the head with bricks and trucks and trees and everything else. Well, I see money the same way. So when you take money and you put the tornado and the power of money inside a family, and that power isn't controlled, and then you got drugs and trauma and ego and chaos and hood shit everywhere, then that tornado is going to cause a whole lot of damage. The money becomes literally the thing that causes more damage than if you never had the money in the first place. Give me a yes if you're following what I'm saying. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm getting at. The reason I'm taking the time to talk to you all about this story, my wife is waiting for me. We're about to leave. We've been in Hawaii this week. We're about to get on an airplane and go. But I said, babe, I got to tell this story. I got to break it down in a certain way because I don't think anybody else is going to talk about it in this way. And I need you to understand that the number one thing that you got to do in terms of investing in your community is you gotta detox all that trauma. You got to get rid of the drugs. You got to get rid of the chaos. You got to get rid of the addiction to broken families and siblings shooting each other and all this other nonsense. Don't get me wrong. We know white people do the same things. We know white people mess up. We know lots of things happen. But I'm going to tell you, at the end of the day, man, when I think about this brother dying, and all the millions of dollars that in family wealth that was probably lost as a result of this chaotic tragedy, I just think about so many other examples. I heard 3-6 Mafia, Juicy J from 3-6 Mafia. They said, well, you were making lots of money. Why did 3-6 Mafia break up? He said, because we all got hooked on drugs and nobody was showing up for each other. Nobody was reliable anymore, and everybody was fighting all the time because you were hooked on drugs. So I'm sitting there saying, when you see all these examples in your community of what damage drugs have done to black people, why in the world do we have any tolerance whatsoever for record labels that are promoting drug addiction to young people? Do you know that all they're doing is they're continuing slavery? All they're doing is they're promoting chaos in your own families. Do you know all they're doing is destroying the black community? I'm serious. If you're a record label executive and you put a song on the radio that's introducing young black kids to drugs, I want to run up to you and drop kick you in your face, because in my mind, you're worse than the Ku Klux Klan. You're worse than the Klan. And so and the idea that we don't see this as black people, the fact that we just think, oh, it's just a little dope, it ain't no big deal. This is what you don't know the history, man. You obviously don't know about what has traumatized so many of our kids. You have no idea why literally when I mentored a young lady who was on a basketball team, a girls basketball team from the hood, and I said, how many of your friends on the basketball team have a father at home? She said 0. Not one single girl on this basketball team had a father at home. And there was so much anger. They were so mad. And I was like, you should be mad. Every little girl deserves to have a daddy. Every little girl deserves to have. And what was crazy was when I mentored this young lady, because the people in this hood school were so used to girls not having a daddy or not having a man that cared about them, they thought I was showing up so I could take her away and go sleep with this little girl. I'm like, so people really think that I'm picking her up just at school just so I can take her in my car and go sleep with her? Is that how sick people are? That they think that the only reason that a black man would want to be around and support a young black girl is because he's trying to get some? Are you kidding me right now? Do you know every little girl deserves to have at least one man in her life who's going to love her and protect her, who ain't trying to go get in her pants? Seriously, I mean, that should be one of the inalienable rights. Every girl deserves to have at least one man who will fight for you, die for you, kill for you, do what's necessary to protect you, and he ain't trying to get nothing in return. The fact that we live in a world where we're used to the idea that literally this whole girls basketball team, there was 12 girls on the team, not one of them had a daddy in the house. That's insanity. That is absolute insanity. You can't build wealth in a community like that. You can't. You can't. It's not possible. Every society on the planet that has wealth will tell you, no, we need our family. The Mormons have wealth because they have families. The Japanese have wealth when they have strong families. African royalty, wealthy people in Africa have wealth because they have strong families. People in South America that are wealthy have Jewish people that are wealthy. They have a husband, a mommy, a daddy, and the children. They don't have just the mommy trying to carry the load all by herself. That ain't the way it's supposed to be. Now, I'm not making fun of anybody if you're in that category. If you're born in it, you got to do what you got to do. You got to make it work or whatever. But I'm telling you that as Black people, you're kind of used to running the 100-meter dash on one leg. You're kind of used to trying to literally run a marathon with no legs at all. Right? You get out here and you're doing a boxing match and you ain't even got no arms. You're fighting with nubs, right? You're used to fighting with nubs and you got good at it. You're trying to box with your shoulders and you thinking that that's the best way to fight. No, the best way to fight is when you got long arms and you can throw jabs and uppercuts and all that. Somebody took that away from you. Somebody took that away from you. So why do I bring up this story about Roger? I started talking about Roger from Zapp and how Roger was killed by his own brother Larry. And when they said it was over money, my spidey senses jumped up. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, money. Okay. I need y'all to understand. If you want to know why I wrote my book, the latest book I wrote is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It's on Amazon. Feel free to get a copy if you like. You don't have to, but feel free to take a look. In this book, that's what I talk about. I talk about stuff like this. Anybody can talk about, like investing strategies and IRAs and tax reduction policies and all this other crap. I mean, anybody can talk about that. I know this stuff like the back of my hand. I have a PhD in it. But what we don't talk about is culture. What we don't talk about is family. What we don't talk about is relationships. Let me see, what's that? Rob Isley's brother just sued him. Right. We don't talk about relationships. So when I saw this happen over money, here's what happened. This is what's interesting. This is something that you've heard me talk about. If you listen to me long enough, you heard me talk about this. His brother allegedly borrowed money from him. His brother that loaned him the money, wanted the money back, and his brother would not pay him. And when he started getting mad at him, his brother pulled out a gun and shot him. Now, how many of you have loaned money to a relative who did not pay it back? How many of you have loaned money to somebody that copped an attitude when you asked for your money back? You asking for money that's yours, and they copping an attitude. How many of you have gone through that? A lot of you have gone through that, and what I need you to understand is that is a type of financial trauma. That is financial trauma, because what happens when that happens to you? When you loan money to a loved one, you're loaning money to a relative. You're thinking they have my back, they love me, they made all these promises, they're going to come through for me. And then when they completely flip the script on you and completely let you down, that hurts your feelings. That makes you sad. That pisses you off. You feel stupid. Give me a yes if you feel. I'm gonna tell you, every time this happened, I've had so many times where I've loaned money to a relative and didn't get it back, and I felt like a dumbass. Because what happens? You start getting mad at Black people. You start saying, well, that's why I don't need to trust people. That's why I don't need to loan money to people. I ain't loaning money to nobody else. You start getting mad. And here's the thing, it's not supposed to be that way. Let me tell you a little secret. You're supposed to be able to loan money to your family members, and they're supposed to pay you back. You're supposed to have people around you that actually understand that you needed that money and that you were doing them a favor, and they should be as willing to support you as you were to support them. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's what a healthy relationship looks like. I got your back, you got mine. Not I got your back and then you run away like a coward when I need you to have my back. So this sort of trauma is something that tends to happen in jacked up, screwed up families where people haven't learned codes of conduct and codes of behavior. In my family, my father, if I was to borrow money from my sibling and not pay them back, my father would call me and say, why are you stealing from your brother? You stole money from you Negro, he needed that money. You need to give him his money back. That's what would happen. That's stealing. You shouldn't be stealing from your own loved ones. So when I saw this story, when I saw how this brother died, he's got a bright future. He's doing great. His brother gets hooked allegedly. I don't know. This is what people are saying. If they got involved in drugs right there, that'll mess everything up. Drugs and alcohol. I'm telling you, if you want to be smart, you want to be successful, you'll avoid those two things as much as you can. But I'm not judging anybody. You can do whatever you want, but I'm not into that stuff. There was a Columbia professor, a black guy, because Columbia is a super liberal institution, so it's like a liberal indoctrination factory. So this professor, this black professor at Columbia, was literally getting on the Breakfast Club talking about how he likes to smoke a little meth and how heroin is okay, and that we need to stop stigmatizing drugs. And I was like, what in the hell is going on here? Why is this guy going into a community that's been destroyed by drugs, trying to get people to just go try a little meth, go try a little crack, try a little heroin, try a little, and then somebody reached out to me and had the nerve to say, well, doc, you need to have him on your platform. He's pretty smart and hear what he has to say. I said, he better not come near me. I don't want this Negro nowhere near my platform because I have no interest in promoting drugs to a community that's been devastated by drugs. Do you know how much black people have lost because of drugs? Do you ever watch reality TV shows? One day I want you to do this. I want you to watch a reality TV show, and I want you to listen to how many of those poor young people in their 20s now who have parents that were either locked up because of drugs, killed over drugs, or hooked on drugs. Like, I just reunited with my mama. Mama showed up, ain't got no teeth in her mouth, right? And she's apologizing. Well, got a raspy voice, sounding like Luther Vandross or something. Not even Luther Vandross, sound like Barry White. And the mama's like, well, I was in the streets back then. And you know what that means? That she was in the streets. That means she was tooting, she was puffing, she was smoking, she was getting high, right? So to me, in my view, there's nothing good I've seen in the black community that has come from drugs. Nothing. It destroys everything. And when I look at this situation with these two brothers, think about this. Your brother's supposed to have your back. Your brother's supposed to elevate you, protect you, support you, take you to the next level, cheer you on, help you go to the moon. And your brother is the guy who literally shoots you and ends your whole career right then. There is so much wealth that gets lost in the black community because of drugs, because of infighting, egos. When you have a lack of trust and trauma. Alcohol is another thing. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I'm not telling you not to drink, but I'm gonna tell you the reason I don't drink. I'm gonna tell you it's funny. Donald Trump. I'm not even a Donald Trump fan. I never voted for him, but Donald Trump actually doesn't drink for the same reasons I didn't drink. Donald Trump had an older brother named Fred. Fred was named after his father. So Fred was the one that his father, Fred, expected to be the billionaire and to make all the money and have all the success. But Fred never had success. You know why? Because Fred was an alcoholic. And Donald Trump said, to this day, the reason I've never taken a drink, I don't miss it, I have no interest in it, is because his brother Fred, the alcoholic, was constantly telling him, stay away from this stuff. Don't do it. And Fred died young because he was taking that poison into his body. He couldn't think straight. He wasn't making good choices, and he ruined his life. So let me just tell you, any young person that'll take the minute to listen to me, I know I sound like an old man. Maybe I sound like a lame. I don't know what I sound like compared to all these dudes on here that are saying stuff that's making you feel good. I don't give a shit. I'm going to tell you right now, if you are smart, you will avoid drugs at all costs, and you will avoid alcohol at all costs, because if you're a black man and you're trying to succeed, or a young black woman and you're trying to make good choices, drugs and alcohol will never help you make better choices in your life. They never will. In fact, they will become a horrible distraction to the point where you will end up so mad and having so many regrets and ending up with a life that you did not plan, and that you're going to literally cry yourself to sleep at night when you're 40 years old, thinking about all the opportunities you missed because you were following the crowd. So I'm encouraging you to be a leader. Do not follow the crowd. Do not do some of this stuff that's destroyed people's lives. Every time you see a tragedy, God plants a lesson in that tragedy. Every time you see somebody fail, there's a lesson in that failure. When DMX died because he blew his whole career getting high the entire time, there was a powerful lesson in the way DMX died. But people missed the lesson because they all focus on how great his music was and how sad it was. They act like it was a coincidence, just a bad luck. He was just unlucky. No, DMX unfortunately was introduced to drugs at an early age by his so-called mentor, the guy that was supposed to lead him and teach him, introduced him to dope. And next thing you know, DMX is on cocaine for the rest of his life. He died crying in his deathbed, and he was crying because of the time where his mother took him to an orphanage and said, we're going to go visit, and then she left him there, right? So this poor little kid with all this talent in the world could have been an amazing man, could have been a billionaire, could have been a billionaire. Instead, he dies young. He's got a jacked up legacy, a bunch of little kids that don't know him. Half of them don't know him, half of them don't like him, and a lot of wealth that is destroyed in the process. So I need you to understand me, Black people, when I explain to you that drugs and alcohol are absolute wealth killers in the Black community. They are wealth killers in the Black community. If you don't believe me, then look around you and look at all the chaos that's being caused. So that's my 2 cents. That's all I got to say about the topic today. I don't have anything else to say. If you could, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. I see my friend Tierra KJ Williams in there. How you doing, sweetie? I love Tierra. She's a talented actress and a wonderful, wonderful person, a very good friend. So I'll put her right there on the screen. There she is. And also, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe on your way out the door. My new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I'm going to also be in Houston on April 21st. So if you'd like to join us in Houston for the Black Wealth Bootcamp, just go to boycewatkins.com and look for the link on there. You can find it. Also, you can find my book on Amazon. So God bless you guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.